Good morning. Welcome to the live stream. Today is Thursday, February 26th. How's it going? Yeah, here I am. I was running late again this morning. Also, I was having some technical difficulties because listen, I know how to I know how to use things that work. I don't know how to use things that don't work. I have no idea what to do if I log in and like YouTube isn't working. I have no idea. I don't know what to do. So here we are. Okay, how's it going? My name is Angela. I am a front-end developer and a software engineer in St. Paul, Minnesota. And on this channel, we practice vanilla HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We don't really use any frameworks or libraries, no compilers, no package managers, no Node. We don't really do any of that stuff because I just really enjoy practicing vanilla and the basics, and I want to promote that here on YouTube, here on Dev YouTube. This is like the little area of Dev YouTube that I have carved out for myself, and it's going swimmingly. I'm really happy with the work that we've done over the last 18 months or so. Do me a favor, if you're new here, first of all, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Like the video, it helps the algorithm. It helps us push this out to more people who might be interested in this type of content. And subscribe if you're not already. It helps the channel grow. We just got over 2,000 subscribers, which I'm pretty excited about. And yeah, I have big plans for this year. I don't know. I want to set like a subscriber goal for 2026, but that just it doesn't feel wise to me because I literally have no control over that. Yeah, I don't have any control over that, so I don't think I'm going to do that. But in my mind, I am kind of secretly thinking like, ooh, wouldn't it be cool to end 2026 with like 5,000 subscribers? How cool would that be? I don't know. We'll see what happens. So yeah, hit that like button. Do all the things. Malik Robinson is here. Malik is one of our mods in the chat. He is right now in his very first ever web design internship, and we're excited for him. He reports back. He's learning Figma. He may get some development tasks, so we're very excited for him. Rahul is here. Rahul's from Nepal. He stays up late. He's like a 12-hour time difference. He stays up late to hang out with us, and we appreciate that. I appreciate that. So I'm happy to have you here. Saeed is here. Hello, welcome. Saeed sent me a very nice comment, I think, on one of the last video, the last replay, apologizing for missing the last live. You never have to apologize. You never have to apologize. We're happy to have you here whenever you are able. So here's what we're working on. I think today is like part 4. Isn't today part 4? I've gotten a little lazy with my thumbnails, and no, shoot, today is hang on. I think last week's was part 3 and I labeled it part 4. Today is part 4. Okay, I'll change that title afterwards today. I've gotten kind of lazy with my thumbnails and my titles and things, even with scheduling. I know I need to like get my act together, but I'm still showing up 4 days a week. It's just the admin part of streaming that I haven't been staying on top of. Everything else, the part where I actually show up and build, I'm very happy with what I'm getting done. You know, we do our best, right? We do our best. Here's what we're working on. We're working on this 4-page website that I think is going to end up being possibly 5 or 6 pages. Let me actually pull up the designs so we can take a look at them. The project is called Colorado, and that's just a name that I gave it. This is from a collection of layered Photoshop mockups that I have in my collection back from when I was doing a lot of freelancing and contracting. I still do some freelancing and contracting. Design and UI UX is the thing that I have really struggled the most with as a front-end developer. And it's not because, I have like a deep desire to be good at it, but the reality is that I'm just kind of mediocre at it. So what I figured out as a freelancer is that I could just buy what I call these low fidelity mock-ups where the branding is kind of ambiguous. There really isn't any branding. There's like an aesthetic, but not really a brand. We have gray boxes in place of images. And it's easy when you get these big layered Photoshop, you could do Figma, Sketch, whatever, you get these big packs of mock-ups. It just makes it so much easier as a freelancer. So you can kind of concentrate on the development part of it. You can concentrate on the content or the information architecture part of it, because clients definitely need a lot of help with that. And then you just get a little assist with the layout, right? And then once you add in the client's branding and the client's images and the client's content, it becomes a completely unique website. So I just found this incredibly helpful when I was doing a lot more freelancing and I was doing those start to finish builds. So that's what we're doing. So I picked out 4 mock-ups from this pack. It's called Kleenex. I don't know why it's called Kleenex. We renamed it Colorado. And we're going to build these out. And I think there's going to be 2 additional pages. But let's just shoot for these 4 and we'll see how it goes. When we finish this project, we will dedicate an entire stream just to deployment, because I think that's really important and I want more front-end developers to understand deployment. So, and Rahul says, let's work together as well. I'll be writing code in the chat. Well, let's make sure that we have an understanding. So I want to make sure that people understand my view on the chat. First of all, Rahul is a very experienced full stack developer. He's got 10 years experience, and the code that he puts into the chat, he is clearly very, very knowledgeable, and he's made some excellent suggestions. Let's not forget though that this is my work time and my practice time, and I love the suggestions that I get in the chat, as long as we have a mutual understanding that I may use your suggestions and I may not, and you will never know. You will never know when I'm going to use them and when I'm going to reject them. And I shouldn't use the word reject. It's just that sometimes, I'm here to practice, and sometimes that means that I want to do the problem solving myself. Sometimes that means I'm happy to get an assist from the chat. So as long as we have that understanding, what I want to avoid is hurt feelings that people are like, well, why didn't she use my code? I put it in the chat for her. Well, that's the reason why. It's because sometimes I do want to genuinely figure it out myself. So we just need to have that understanding, and then you can put any code you want in the chat and I will take a look at it. So, hello, welcome. Thanks for joining us. We're happy to have you. Hello, Crispa. I'm trying to look at the code with Chris. Chaudhry, am I saying this right? MK Chaudhry? I'm terrible at names. I'm very much using the phonetic spelling to pronounce names. So let me know if you need to correct me. Yeah, I'm delighted with what we have figured out so far. I did choose a navigation that had drop-down menus. I feel like I have a great system in place for an accessible, responsive navigation, and I have had people asking me to do submenus. And to be clear, I have built many a navigation with submenus, but I am so much more accessibility focused now in the last few years than I ever have been. So I felt like it was time to dive into responsive, accessible navigation, including submenus. So that's where we're at right now. We're still working on the header. We're still working on the submenus. And I am thrilled with what we came up with here the last few days. So let's just review a little bit, shall we? So here's our main nav, which is sort of this traditional unordered list. Here's our main nav, which is this traditional unordered list. And then here's a submenu, and we've got the anchor element and the button to expand the submenu, and then we've got the submenu itself. The anchor, the button, and the submenu, they are siblings. They are all siblings inside the list item. So let's sort of think about the different user experiences. We've got we'll start with just number one, not in any particular order. Desktop with a mouse. That's the number one. That's the first user experience. I want people to hover, and I want anytime your mouse is entering into this LI, this list item, I want the submenu to show. But I want the button and the link to be independent. I want these two things to be siblings. And I think in the past, I would put the button inside the anchor element. And I don't think that that's the right way to do it. I think the anchor element, because it links to another page, and the button need to be separate, independent things. But I think for the desktop experience with the mouse, as soon as your mouse enters the LI, we can trigger the animation on the button and we can trigger the submenu. But again, these are two separate things. So what's the next experience would be desktop with keyboard navigation. So if we're tabbing through, these are links. That's a button for the search. Here's a link. Here's the link, here's the button. Link, button, siblings. Link, 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 link. Beautiful. The experience then should be that when you're on this button, you give the user the choice of seeing the sub-navigation. So that button is right here, and it's got an ARIA label that says open the blog submenu. The user gets to decide if they're going to open that menu, because once that menu is open, and we can just go ahead and put the active class here to open it. Once that menu is open, that keyboard now goes into the navigation. And the user gets to decide if they want to do that. That's the whole point of an ARIA label saying what it is. So this is the exact experience that I want people to have. So the JavaScript then is going to be a click event on the button that when they click the button, we add an active class to the submenu. So I don't know if we're going to get to that today because we still have some styling to do. And then my approach to these things is I do as much with CSS as possible. So for example, a body class. So once we get to the mobile part of this menu, or actually didn't we start working on the right here, the search drawer. So I think we were styling the search drawer when we last left off. The intention is that we have this button to open the search drawer. We would write JavaScript to put a click event on the button, and then we would add a body class. I think we said search active, and then that activates the drawer. And then we would have a little bit of JavaScript, so you could hit the escape key and remove those things. So when we get to the JavaScript part of it, we're really just doing click events, and we're adding classes, and we're letting CSS do really like 95% of the work. So, and Rahul says, I don't get hurt for the simple reasons like not using my code. It's kind of practice for me as well. Maybe future viewers will try my code suggestions. Yeah, that's a good point. The chat replay is available on every single replay stream. The chat is always available. So yeah, for people who like to look at the chat, absolutely. Jeed Sun God. Hi. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And you pronounce correct. Good. Mega menu, multi-layered submenu. Yeah, we should definitely do a mega menu next. Like once we kind of what and I had a contract job about maybe 8 or 9 months ago where I worked on a big mega menu where the top level links were not links, they were buttons, and they all triggered a mega menu with multi-layered submenus. So once we nail down our process for like a simple, what I would call simple submenus, we should definitely do a mega menu next. I completely agree with that. So Clash of Clans is here. Hello, how are you? I'm doing well. How are you? Clash of Clans leaves me very nice comments on the live stream replays. I appreciate that. We love you guys. Let's see here. Give me one moment. Hold, please. Ooh, my coffee is good today. Some days, I'm telling you, it just, why is that? Some days it's just so damn good. Okay. So let's finish styling our search drawer. And then I want to start making this responsive. It's already accessible. Let's make it responsive. Maybe we will have some time to write the JavaScript today, the click events. So, but you know me, I don't do any JavaScript until I've got my CSS in place and I know that all of my classes are working. So let's go ahead and put search active on the body. So we have our drawer. Here's our search drawer. Here's our button in the upper right corner. Here's our form. We already have this nice and centered on the page. So we used display flex wrap align content. That makes it aligned horizontally, so on the y-axis. And then I just used a little good old-fashioned margin 0 auto. Somebody tried to tell me that that was not the right way to center things. I think it was a classmate of mine when I was in grad school this last time, tried to tell me that margin 0 auto was a hack and we should not ever be using that. And I disagree with that. I didn't ask more questions. I didn't ask more questions about why this person thought that because I just immediately dismissed them. So, okay, we need to write where's our search drawer? I'm going to write different form styles for the search drawer because those just tend to have different form styles. So we'll go right here. So this is the search form input and button. Input. How specific do we want to make this? Well, I guess it is a type search, right? Input type search. Angela. Oh my God, hang on, I can't see anything. Margin 0 auto. Yeah, margin inline is just specifying left and right, right? And then margin 0 auto gets you top, bottom, left, right. Yeah, I mean, they're totally not hacks, I don't think. I will say I prefer margin 0 auto because I often have to put margin on the top and bottom of something. But margin inline auto is also totally appropriate. I wish I had asked more questions. I was very dismissive when I saw that, when somebody told me that. And Sai says 3JS. What is 3JS? I have no idea. A 3D library. Oh, interesting. I mean, I don't know if I would do anything like this. If I build anything, if I would build things like this. Oh, look at that. Hang on. I think this is too fancy for me. Oh, look at that. This is kind of beyond what it is that I do on this channel. But I appreciate this. Oh, look at that. That's wild that you can do this with JavaScript. Hey, JavaScript I think makes I think the universe is made out of JavaScript. That's the conclusion that I've come to. So, and I know that there are developers out there doing much fancier things than what I do here. I totally acknowledge that. I mean, I'll be honest, I just don't have a desire to do that type of development. The animations, the 3D stuff, it's just, it doesn't look that interesting to me. I am far more interested in just kind of these basic ideas and basic concepts. I get so much more joy out of just sort of like doing things the old-fashioned way. I have a deep appreciation of frameworks and libraries and the really, really complex work that people are doing. And I think 3JS is such a good example of that. But I also know from my own experience that there's this huge gap and that there are a lot of people who still don't understand basics. So that's just really what this is about, is just promoting the basics and reminding people like, hey, this is still important too. So... And 3JS is a JavaScript library used to create and display 3D graphics in a web browser using WebGL. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that we've talked about WebGL before. So I think it's really cool. People who are learning to use that and doing that type of work. So, okay. So here's our input. How do we want to style our input? I mean, I tend to be a little bit of a one-trick pony when it comes to stuff like this. So I'm going to make the input the full width, and then here's our button. I'm going to add an SVG for our button. So let's do the search outline. And we'll say aria hidden true. And we can take out the word search and we're going to put in an aria label. Say aria label search or submit. I think we would want to say submit. Because you've actually, if you got to this point, you filled out the form. This label is for search the blog. Let's actually put in search the blog. Here's the button to close search. Yep, close search. And then here's the button to open the search. Aria label open search. All right, I'm good with that. So let's say, I'm just going to say width 100%, padding, I'm going to give it a rem of padding, border 1 pixel, solid. Oh, we need to update our images and find our accent color. We're going to do that next. We'll go with black for now. And then let's just position this inside. I know it's kind of boring, but We also have a design here with like a pretty clean aesthetic. Maybe whatever our accent color is, we could do that here in the back. I would be open to that. We have a nice big colorful. Yeah, and then let's make our form position relative. And then let's make our search button. So I'm going to give this a class of search submit button. I'm going to say position absolute top 0 right 0. So here's our form, here's our input, here's our button. I'm going to do something that's a little bit of overkill. I'm not going to spend a lot of time making sure the button is the same size as the input because it's so darn close. But I am going to do, I want it to be centered vertically. So I'm going to say top 50%. I'm going to say transform. Translate Y negative 50%. And that's going to put it right in the middle. Perfect. And then let's make sure that our input has extra padding. So if we were typing, here, come on. The text doesn't go behind the button, right? So we can move that over with padding. So we've got 1 rem on the top. I'm going to put 4 rems on the right, 1 rem on the bottom, 1 rem on the left. There we go. So now, if you had a gigantic search term, you can see there that this is well within range here. Perfect. And we still have focus in the right spots. Beautiful. Okay. I think this even looks kind of fine. It's got a nice big tap target, 48 by 48. We can make it a little bigger. So let's style the search close SVG. Here's the search close. So the search button has padding of 0.75, but the search close, I'm just going to adjust that padding and increase the search button SVG, which is why we gave it its own class. So it shares a class and it has a class of its own. So I'm going to do, instead of 0.75, I'm going to do 0.25, and then we'll do search close, width. So if we have 0.25, that's half a rem. So I guess 2.5 rem width. I think that's right. Oh, hang on. Search, close, SVG. There we go. So we still have 48 by 48, and our SVG is just a little bit bigger. Beautiful. And then let's just move this out a little bit from the corner. So I think right now we have top 0. Let's just do 0.5 rems and 0.5 rems. There we go. Just moves it out a little bit from the corner. Okay. Do we need... should we not hide this label? I feel like it would be actually good to have this label in here. My first thought is, oh, should I put a heading in here saying what to do? But then I'm kind of like, duh, just don't hide the label. And then there's your text, right? So let's take out this screen reader only text or class. Yeah, that, and then I just want this to say search. And then this can say search the blog, and then let's just style this. And then this is what kind of, let me see here, search label. Whoop, stop. We can just make it a little bigger. So we'll do, well, we'll do a font size. Let's clamp that so it's nice and squishy for responsiveness. So maybe 1.5 on mobile. And then what do we want our desktop version? 3 rems, which would mean that we'd probably want 4 VW as that in-between size. Ooh, I kind of like that. Is it too big? Oh, and you know what? It's going to screw up our button. That's okay. I don't mind. We'll just position this from the bottom. So I don't care about that. There we go. That's pretty big. Yeah, so we're not really going to do this after all. So we're just going to do bottom. We'll say bottom 0. We can adjust it. We'll just push this up a little bit. Yeah, that looks about good. We'll just push it up a couple pixels. And then let's make sure that if this was going to wrap, let's see here. If this label was going to wrap, I want the line height to be, I'm going to try 1.25. Not sure if it matters. I doubt it's ever going to get that small. We'll do 1. And then we obviously have to put some padding there. We'll just do 1 rem of padding all the way around. There we go. I don't think it would ever be that small. Okay, what happened to our button? Oh, because of the padding. So let's just do 0 on the top and bottom. There we go. Oh, we will have to adjust this. There we go. There's our input. We have plenty of room for the button. There's our label. And we have lots of room here. Okay, I think now is the perfect time to choose an accent color, put in our correct images, and just do some of this housekeeping stuff that I've been saying for like the last 4 sessions that we need to do. Let's finally do that. So let's take out, and I'm happy with those styles. I mean, we can definitely adjust them if we want to, but the core styles are exactly fine. So now, if we were to put in search active, just like that. So that's the experience when you click that button. I like it. Yes, I like it. And Saeed is asking, I'm not sure if you're asking me this question, if you're asking somebody else, can this be implemented in direct vanilla? I think that you and Rahul are having a question about 3D graphics. So and Malik says, off to my meeting, won't be back in time. I will keep the stream open. Good work as usual. Thank you, Malik. Malik is going to his meeting. I love that. Okay, let's see here. I think we replaced the word Colorado with from Kleenex. So let's just update some of these images. Let's get our images in here. And as a reminder, hang on, I will pull up our images. So as a reminder, here are our optimized images, just pretty pictures of Colorado. So let's just go ahead and pop these in, and we'll do a little placeholder text. Oops. It's a little tedious, but that is okay. Sometimes it's tedious. So here's the first one. What is this? They look like Bob Ross paintings. That's what these look like. They're very pretty. So this is a, what is this? A river or a lake next to the mountains. A river next to the mountains with tall trees. It doesn't have to be a novel, but that's very pretty. Maybe we don't, actually we probably want a different aspect ratio there. Yeah, let's get a different aspect ratio there. What is this one? No. Let's do this one. I like this one. So this is the 5th one. And this is a valley of wildflowers in between the mountains. A valley of wild flowers between the mountains. All right, and then this is going to be our hero image. Obviously, this is not styled yet. We'll make sure that this fits this container. Where's our next image? Right here. we may want to find a different image. Clearly this is going to be a little bit smaller than this container. So it might be, we're going to go with this for now, but we may, depending on how this looks once it's styled, it's going to be stretched bigger than its actual size. So we might just go grab a fresh image specifically for the hero, which is not a bad idea, but we're just going to go with this for now. And this was a river beside a mountain with tall trees. Perfect. That'll look great in there. Oh, and I forgot to put in optimized. There. Okay, what is that one? A highway. What is this? It looks like the desert. A highway in the desert next to the mountains. A highway in the desert. Desert next to the mountains. Doesn't have to be a novel. The whole point of placeholder text is that you are letting somebody who uses a screen reader know what that image is because they can't see it. Okay, what's the next one? What is that? Looks like a dirt road. Is it a dirt road or a paved road? This looks like, you know what this looks like? Well, it came up under a Colorado search, so it's probably Colorado. It looks like Scotland to me. I've been to Scotland. This to me looks like Scotland. So this is a road, a long winding road. A long winding road. In front of a mountain. In front of a mountain. All right. This is very pretty. This is, what is this? A small red mountain in front of a big mountain? A small red mountain in front of a bigger mountain. If I was smart, I would have written down the titles of these images. That probably would have helped. Mountain. But here we are. Okay, next. We already did that one. We'll do this one. This looks like the Grand Canyon, right? This kind of looks like the Grand Canyon. What are these? Rocks and trees. Tall spiky rocks with bright green trees. Tall, sharp rocks with bright green trees. All right. What's this one? a forest of trees next to a mountain with snow. And what's this one? Also very pretty. This looks like a forest in the fall when the leaves are changing. A forest in the fall when the leaves are yellow. We do have one more. Okay, we'll do this one. I'm going to do this one. And then these are all, so this is an Instagram feed. We'll fill these in later. Yeah. I'm getting kind of tired of images now. We'll fill those in later. So I think this is pretty good for now. Okay, what image do we want to color pick an accent color from? I think this one right here. We're going to color pick an accent color from this image. I want it to be green. There's a lot of green in this photo, and then we will use the color contrast checker and make sure that it's accessible, and that will be our accent color. I'm also thinking maybe we should grab a shade of blue for our links. So we'll have a green and a blue accent color. Let's do it. So color, contrast, checker, and then Adobe color. So let's go to create, extract a theme. We'll select a file. Here's our images. This one right here. Nice. Okay, so here's colorful, here's bright, muted, deep, dark. Kind of like something like this for a blue. Let's see if this is accessible. I'm not sure if it's going to be. It is. I love it. I love this blue color. That's going to be our link color. I love it. And that's going to work against a white background. So it's not going to work against a dark background, but that's fine. I'm completely fine with that. Love it. So this is going to be like kind of our generic link color, but I still want like a green accent color for everything else. So let's see here if we can find a green. These are very, these aren't like cool greens. These are like warm greens. Can I zoom in on this image a little bit? Like this is I think of this as being a very, like a warm green, and I want it to be more cool toned. Like, do you see these greens up here? These are cool toned. Can you see there how different that is? I like that. I don't think that's accessible, but I like it. Let's see, let's start with this and see if we can figure something out. Let's go back to white. Get out of town right now. What? That's accessible. Do we like that? Is that too cool? Is that too cool of a green? It leans teal. I can't believe that that's accessible. So if we used this as a background, it would work perfectly. It works for large text. It works for graphical objects. We fail for triple A. Double A is still acceptable. It is for me. And it's not exactly what I had in mind, but it is a cool tone green. Wow. It wasn't exactly what I had in mind though, but I do really like it. Do you see over here in the valley, there's a little bit more up here too. Kind of mossy. What was I thinking? Hang on. Well, let's try. Should we just try it? Let's try it. Let's try that green and see how it looks. This is part of the process. Choosing colors. If you're doing it yourself, this is what it's like. This is part of the process. I freaking love it. I love it. Look at this green color. What? Stop it. I love it. I love it. Okay. Yes. What do we think? Look how clean this looks. So we also, we can do more here with styling, right? Like this is our buttons, and somebody brought this up. The last time we worked on this, somebody basically put into the chat active when I was working on the button, as in the pseudo class active. And I couldn't wrap my head around it at the time, but I've had time to think about it, and I'm like, yeah, we can absolutely style this button. Right now, our button styles are just that we have a button here where we're rotating on hover this little caret, right? But we can absolutely style the button. Absolutely. So the green, love. 100% love this green color. So, okay, let's keep going. Let's let's see if we want to do something with that search drawer. I kind of wanted to do maybe like a background of a solid color. So let's do that. Let's see how it looks. I think it's going to look really cool. Yeah. So let's get back up here to our body class. Search active. Here's our search drawer. So let's make our search drawer dark green, that green color. Yeah. Oop. Whoops. Wrong. Okay, so here's our search. Here's our search drawer. I'm going to change the background color to our accent color, which means we really need to make the color white. So we're just going to have to change things from black to white. Black is the default style set on the body. So if we just do so if we just come in here and say color white, I think that will take care of most of it, but I also think that we have a border here. We need to update that. Yeah, you can't really see the border, can you? Does it matter? I don't know if it matters. So let's just take the border out. Unless we want to do something like give it some opacity. I don't, we can just take the border out. I don't think we need it. I love it. Let's put a little space underneath this label. So simple. So let's just do margin like 0.5 rems on the bottom. Move it down a little. Well, that didn't really work. Oh, probably because it's our labels inline elements. I think labels are inline elements. So let's just change this to display inline block. There we go. Now we can add a little margin. Perfect. Gives it a little space. And then let's change the color of this SVG. Ooh, I love it. I'm so here for this. I love it. Okay, so here's our SVG. Search close SVG. This has got a stroke, and we'll give it the color of our accent. Nope, wrong. Well, no, that was okay. We'll fix that, but this was the wrong thing. So this is the search button, submit button. Submit button, SVG. What? Why aren't you changing? Okay, so this is the, where's my form? So here's the main nav. Okay, it should be right here. Here's the social navigation. Here's the search drawer. Here's the form. Here's the submit button SVG. Oh, and look at right here. Stroke current color. So we just have to remove that inline style. So if you're ever having trouble styling your SVGs, it's probably because you have an inline style. So we're going we want to keep the value here for the stroke, but we want to remove that current color value. And now this should work. And there we go. You can see here. Okay, so let's make sure now that this is working. So this is our close button for the search drawer. So by default, search drawer, search close. So here's our search close. Let's give this a background color of white. And then this would have a default color. And then we'll do a focus hover active. So this would also be a stroke of, if the background's white, then the stroke would be the accent color. There we go. Well, maybe we want it to be this with a hover. Does it matter? Am I overthinking this? I think I like it better with a white background on hover. And then this would be white. Just like that. And then we'll go ahead and do a focus hover active. So we'll say search, close, focus, hover, active. Whoops. Whoops. All right. And then we want these again right here, but we're going to trigger the SVG on focus, trigger the SVG on hover, and trigger the SVG when it's active, and we'll change the stroke color to our accent color. There we go. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. I love it. So now we can come right in here. So when you click this button, that comes up just like that. Let's stop. I love it. Love, 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 love. I love this accent color. Very happy with this. Nice, cool green color. And then real quick, for our regular old links, which are right here, I'm going to change this color from our accent to blue. So unless it's something that is unless it's something that is not like a traditional link, those will be blue. You know what else I was thinking? I was thinking about reversing these. I was thinking that I do want these to have an underline by default. So where this says text decoration color transparent, I'm going to change this to blue. And then the focus hover active, I'm going to change this to transparent. Just reverse those. That was something I was thinking when I was looking at this. There, I like that. Which means then that we have to reverse engineer it specific to the navigation. And we have to set the accent color specific to the navigation. So we can do that. That is no problem. That is Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Okay, so the main nav anchor, we're going to say text decoration. I think I'm just going to say none because I have an idea for some additional styling. So I'm going to say text decoration none. Yeah. And then let's make sure that we have the correct color. Whoops. Which is our accent. There we go. So we just need to make sure that we're doing some sort of hover, focus hover active for the navigation, which I think we're going to do that next. What else did I want to do here? I want to change this to our accent color as well. Love it. Love it. Oh, let's see here. Devon, am I saying that correctly? I've completed HTML, CSS at decent level, but now I'm stuck and haven't been able to complete JavaScript. It's been a long time. How should I start again now to get used to it? Any suggestions? I'm going to tell you what I tell everybody, which is pick a project and just get started building something. I can tell you from my own experience, JavaScript is like my big weakness. I'm definitely better than I used to be, but it takes a long time to be good at it. It really does. So, the best way to learn it is to practice it. So, a tutorial certainly will help you get familiar with the syntax and kind of learn the rules and the structure, right? But nothing will replace applying it. That's the whole point of this channel and what I'm doing now. It's to practice and apply those concepts. So the best way to get into it is to come up with an idea for something that requires a fair amount of JavaScript and just get busy. Just get busy writing some JavaScript. Come up with an idea. Think like, how am I going to execute this? How am I going to get this to work the way I want it to work, right? So that's practice. Project-based learning and practicing. That is my best advice. Okay. So we have a couple more things that I want to do. Gosh, I love this green so much. I can't even tell you how much I love it. I think a lot of it has to do with this particular picture. This isn't the picture that we used to color pick this green, but gosh, it looks really nice against this picture. Let's make sure that when we are doing a focus hover active on these LIs, that we are transitioning some of these things. The other thing I wanted to do is I want to make sure that the word Colorado, the name of our site, is also linkable and hovers, has a hover effect. So let's do that first. So we're just going to make sure that this links back to, well, this is the home page. So we're going to have to remember this link on the inner pages. I think we can just do this. And that's going to show up as blue, right? Oh, and we have to take this out. That's going to show up as blue. So let's style that. So this is the primary logo. And have we not used that class? I don't think we've used that class yet. So here's the logo container. We'll do the primary logo, and that's an anchor. So we're going to say text decoration none color. Well, I want it to be black. And then we'll do a focus. Hover. Active. And then this will be our accent color. Here we go. Perfect. And then let's transition that. We're going to transition the color, whoops, 300 milliseconds, ease in, out, just like that. Perfect. So now this is linkable. All right, good. Now, what do we want to have happen when we are hovering over these things? So let's start with just the links, and then we'll work on the buttons and the submenus. There we go. So everything that happens when we hover on the list item. So the list item, hovering on the list item triggers the submenu, but that doesn't mean that it has to trigger the anchor element, and they're sibling items, we want them to be distinct. So let's just style them independently. I think that's the best way to go. So let's give these a background color of transparent. And then we'll do main nav, anchor element, focus. Hover, active. And then this background color will be the accent. And then this color is the accent, so this color would be white. And then let's make sure that well, I don't know if we need to transition. They may already transition for us. Nope. That's perfect. I love it. So depending on where your mouse is, the thing happens. Okay, so yes, we do need to transition those, no problem. So we're going to transition the background color. 300 milliseconds, ease in, out. And then I'm going to transition the color, also 300 milliseconds, ease in, out. There we go. Oh, and that already does it for us. I think that's perfect. I really like that. And that makes these things separate, distinct. So do we need a focus hover active for this button? We're already transforming this caret when we hover over the LI. Do we need to do anything else? It gets focus. It gets that blue outline focus. I just don't think that we need to do anything else. Especially since we have this being like really distinct. So it's like, this is a link. Here's the other thing that I want to make sure that we do. So let's make one of these active. I feel like this is a little trickier, but let's say that this is active. Also, let's say that this is active, because I do like to do that. I like to make sure that there's an active class, right? So the main nav, if it's active, should also have these styles. So we'll do this on the individual pages. That you can do that pretty easily with JavaScript. Check the URL and then check the URL of the navigation link and add an active class. But since this is a static website, I'm not going to do that. When we make our inner pages and we make copies of the header and the footer for our inner pages, we are just going to add an active class based on whatever page we're on. But we will be adding the active class to the submenus with JavaScript, because you will click the button, and this is again for mobile or keyboard navigation. You will click the button and that will open the submenu because you add an active class. So then let's say that this is active because you're on that page. But what if you're on an inner page? If you're on an inner page, generally the subnav isn't open if you're just browsing the page, right? But let's say you're on the portfolio page, or the top level is the portfolio, and then you go to an inner page of the submenu. So we'll say that this is like class active based on the page. Generally, you still want this to also be highlighted, because so say we're on the portfolio page, but we're on the services of that submenu. I mean, you can do that with CSS, right? I'm trying to even think here about how to explain what I'm trying to do. Yeah, no problem. I mean, I feel like a little bit of a one-trick pony when I get asked that question, but the answer is pretty much always going to be the same. Like, you just need to practice. And trust me, that's my own advice for myself as well. So, and Rahul says background color on the anchor tab, even when hovered in the caret, or border left on the caret and change its own background color. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I feel like I'm just not sure. See, so much of this is stuff that I would do with JavaScript, but I'm opting to keep things static. Yeah. I may not solve this. I don't even know I may not solve this problem today. This may be something that we have to work on or come back to. For now, we have an active class that does what we need to do. Maybe once we get to the JavaScript part of this, I'll have a clear idea of what it is that I want to do, because I'm just not sure. Also, I would really like to see, let's start working on the mobile part of this. A lot of this has to do, I think, also with the behavior that I want to see on mobile. And I think also once we have the JavaScript implemented where we're actually clicking the button to add that class and show and hide the menu, I think that's going to make a difference. I'm going to say to myself, oh yeah, I need to have that styled. Yeah. One moment, please. Okay. Let's get going making this mobile. So we have a lot of flexibility here. Like, look how well this header responds. Lot of flexibility here. So where do we want to? So generally I would start around 1024. Oh, also though, I did sort of notice something in our design. Look at our hero here. It says 1270 by 650. And we set a width for our wrapper as 1200. So we need to adjust our wrapper. Let's do that first. 1270. Let's see here. So 1270 divided by 16. That is 79.375 rems. And we are nothing if not precise. So 79.375 rems. That is 1270 pixels. So we're going to change that, and it's going to make it a lot wider. Let's see here. Let's put this down. Oh, I think that we manually set this to a max width. So let's adjust that also for the main nav. Oh, shoot, you can't see it. Sorry, hang on. So this is manually set to a max width. We couldn't reuse that class because it screwed up our flexbox or something like that. So we're gonna, this is the only place that we have to do that. Sorry, I have a frog in my throat. Okay. Right here. It's 1270 pixels. There we go. Boy, it makes it nice and roomy. So where do we want this breakpoint to be? Usually I do like 1024, 960, something like that. We're going to need some padding here. Did we not do any styles for a section? We did. Oh, I didn't give this a class of section. That's why. So let's give this a class of section. Did I do that because I didn't want the padding? Yes, I did. See, normally I put padding on the section, but should we just put padding on the body for this one? No, I don't want to do that because the footer is full. Isn't the footer full width? Yeah, the footer is full width technically because of these borders. So maybe our strategy for the sections instead of padding is we can do 3 rems on the top and bottom, 0 rems on the left and right, and then could we just do margin? Is that going to... If I do a rem of margin on the left and right, is that gonna... but I still can't do padding here because it's the hero. But we can add margin to the sections because that's on the outside of the box model, right? So that's working here. It's not working. Okay, so our wrap is going to need margin. Yeah, our wrap is going to need margin then. So this works great for these sections. Actually, we can go back to doing this because I can't use the padding on the hero. Angela, just style the hero. Just style the hero. Oh, I haven't styled the hero yet. That's why. Okay, that works. But I have to make sure that it's here also. So probably just do it on the entire nav element. I don't want to do it here. Although this is separate from the wrapper. maybe we put this not on the main nav, but on this navigation class instead. I feel like I'm overthinking this, but it also feels suddenly very complicated. Why? I need there to be a rem of margin or padding on the left and right, but I don't want it to be smaller than 1270. And I need it to be centered. So just add padding to the nav element. Navigation. Padding. Well, for this we could do padding inline also. 1 rem. And then that won't screw up the sizing, right? There, thank God. Okay, good. Jesus Christ. Okay, there we go. Now we have our rem of space. And we're good here as well for the rest of the document. Okay, so now, so here's 1024 right here. I say that yes, we go ahead and switch into mobile at 1024. This looks great at 1024. This holds up really well. What if we go down to 960? How does it look? Okay, so there's 958. I think this is a little too squishy. So I'm going to do a media query of 1024, which is very traditional for going into a mobile style. So let's go all the way down here at media, max width. Whoops, hang on. At media, max width 1024 pixels. We are going to display none the navigation. That's going to be our container. Navigation, display. Well, actually, we're going to not display none. We're going to do, excuse me, visibility hidden. And that hides it, just like that. And then it's going to be position fixed. Top 0. Width, I usually do 300 pixels. Height, 100 VH, viewport height. Do we want it to be on the left or the right? I'm going to go with the left. So we'll say left 0. And we use visibility, not display, because we can transition the visibility. And then the class that we're going to use is going to be menu active. So there's going to be a button, and when you click the button to open the menu, it's going to add menu active to the body class, and then the CSS will do all of the work for us. So menu active, navigation, it'll be visibility, visible. And I'm going to give this a Z index of 0. Well, it might end up being 1 because we want it to be the top layer. Fixed fixes it to the entire document window, so we don't need like a parent or grandparent container with position relative. Fixed ignores relative positioning. And then we can transition this. So we'll say transition, visibility. We'll do 300 milliseconds. I'm going to do a linear transition. I usually do ease in out, but since this is sliding from left to right, we'll do that. And then we're also going to use transform to do the transition. So we're going to do transform, translate X. It's the X axis since it goes from left to right. And we're just going to say this is 0. And then we'll do transform, translate X plus 300 pixels. We're sliding to the right. So it's positive. If you are on the right side, sliding to the left, it would be negative. And then we can transition the visibility and we can transition the transform. And again, we'll do 300 milliseconds and I'm going to do a linear. And then we'll give this a background color. Whoops. Background color of white. And then inside the navigation, we have the container with the actual links. So right now in the main nav, we're using, let's see here, we are using Flexbox. The flex flow is that it is a row, no wraps. We're going to change the flex direction for the main nav. We're going to change that to a column. So this is still not really going to be styled very well, but these are basic styles for us. And then we'll say menu active, save that. And clearly this is not centered correctly. So let's see here, where did I screw it up? Menu active, translate X 300. Translate X 0, translate X 300. The width is 300. Oh, this should be negative 300 to move it off canvas. There we go. So clearly this is not styled yet, that's fine, but we have menu active now. And then if I Command Shift Z to remove that, you can see how that slides right in from the left. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want. Excellent. So now let's just style this thing right here. It's a little crazy. That's okay though. That is okay because we have the bulk of our styles down. And again, what's going to happen is, let me remove this. We'll get our button in there. What's going to happen is, as soon as this disappears, goes to visibility hidden, now we have to make sure that we style this on the left. We're going to hide, I think we already decided, we had these conversations in the beginning, that we're going to hide the social media icons on mobile because they also already exist in the footer. They're right here. So we're just going to go ahead and hide those for mobile. And then we will keep our search button and we will add the menu button. So let's keep going with our media query. So here are the social media icons. So we don't want to, our header and our footer social media navigation are getting the exact same styles. They have the same class. So we just need to specify which one we're hiding on mobile. So I'm going to write a media query here under the social group of styles, and we'll say max width 1024 pixels, And I'm going to say the header social navigation. Header social navigation. I'm just going to display none. And when you display none, they are not accessible by a screen reader. You can't tab into them using the keyboard, and that is just fine. That's what I want. So now we just have this. And I kind of feel like we should, what else is going, what else is happening here? Why is there so much space up here? Okay, so we want to adjust a lot of the spacing here. So we've got 3 rems of padding on the top and bottom for the header wrap. Let's clamp this padding. So it's like 1 rem all the way around. But also, I think we need to, there's still so much space here. What happens if we just don't have any padding? I kind of want to hide this tagline too for mobile. Maybe we just need to clamp this text and that's going to help. So let's do that. So here's our logo container. Here's our H1, which has a ton of margin underneath. And then here's our paragraph tags, which has a lot of margin also. So let's, on desktop it looks great. I love the spacing. So let's just clamp some of this stuff and shrink it down. And we don't have to get rid of all of this padding, but let's just get rid of a lot of it. We can clamp this padding also. Or we can just do a media query with padding 0. I'm kind of into that too. You know what? Maybe we want to just move this up to the header. Let's do that. Since it's header specific. Put it right here. So we've also got the header wrap. I'm just going to go with padding 0, and if we need more padding, we can deal with it. Okay, and then we've got the primary logo. The font size is coming from normalize at 2 M's, so I didn't adjust that text at all. That's no problem. We'll do it ourselves. So here's the primary logo. Let's style the anchor element. We'll give it a specific text size and we will clamp it. And then the H1, the primary logo, has the margin. So let's deal with that margin first. Primary logo, clamp, whoops, margin, 0 on the top, 0 on the left and right, and then we'll clamp the bottom. I'm just going to say like 0.25 rems on the bottom. And then we know that we've got 1 rem for desktop, so maybe 2 VW as that in-between size. Let's see if that works. It needs to be something really small. I don't think you can have a 0 value. It won't let you do it. I'm going to do this. Even though it's not really, the math isn't really mathing, it's still doing what I want it to do. So that's what I'm going to do. And then we will clamp this on the anchor element. So I'm going to say font size. We'll clamp this. And we know for desktop it was 2 M's. So I'm going to do 2.5 rems. I'm going to say 1.25 rems for mobile. We can adjust that, obviously. And then I'm going to say 3.5 viewport width for that in-between size. And I'm going to change the line height also to 1. There we go. Nice. Didn't have to do any media queries for that. Now this. So here's our description. No specific styles for this class. That is perfectly fine. So it should be, the font size should be it's 100%, so it's 1 rem. And we also have a line height of 1.65. Description. So I'm going to change the line height. Whoops. I'm going to change the line height to 1. Yeah. And I'm going to change the font size to, well, we're going to clamp it. I kind of want to do 0.9 rems on the low end. We'll keep it at 1 rem on the high end. And then maybe 2 VW in the middle. I'm not sure. Yeah, that looks good. So, and I like the amount of space underneath. So let's just adjust the space above. So we can keep 1 rem on top, 0 on the left and right, and then I'm just gonna, well actually no, I said I like it underneath. I'm going to adjust it on the top. Look at that, and we don't need to write any media queries for this. This is great. So I'm going to say 0.25 on the low end. We'll keep 1 rem on the top. So what, 2 VW? Whoops. In the middle. I'm going to clamp both. Yeah, I'm going to clamp both. on the top and the bottom. And we'll change that to 1. I don't know, do we still need some padding? I don't think we do. So here's 375, which is an iPhone SE. I try to get everything to work down to about a 375. It's nice if it still looks good around like 300, 320, 300, even though I think, so that would be, that's 320. Okay, we definitely need some padding. So we still need padding. So maybe 0.5 rems on the left and right, but I don't think we need it on the top or the bottom. Yep, that pulled it in. So there's 284. So here's the header. So let's make, should we make that header sticky on mobile also? And then we still need room to add. Do we need a tagline? Do we even need this tagline for mobile? It would be so, my life would be so much easier without it. Maybe we remove that tagline. There is no mobile view for this design. So maybe we get rid of that tagline around 600. Yeah, so there's 600 pixels. There's still plenty of room here to add our button to open the navigation. But I think once we get below 600 pixels, we have to get rid of that tagline. It just doesn't fit. And I would also like to make that header sticky. So I'm going to do another at media, max width, 600 pixels. And this is the description. Display none. Okay, now let's make sure. I think we are going to need padding all the way around for this. See, now that we're taking that out, and then let's make this sticky. So our header, by default, the position is just static, which that's the default position. Oops. I don't think we need to like declare a desktop value. I think it just goes back and forth between sticky and static. So the header is going to be position sticky, top 0, left 0, width, whoops, 100%. I don't think we have to do anything different for desktop. And we'll make sure that this has a background color of white. Let's give this a little box shadow, but we don't want the box shadow on desktop. So we'll say box, whoops, box shadow. Can't we just say none? Yep, we can just say none. And then here we'll do box shadow. And I'm going to say 0 on the x-axis, so vertically, or excuse me, horizontally. 1 pixel positive on the y-axis, 1 pixel blur, 1 pixel spread. And then we'll do RGBA, which is going to be 0, 0, 0 for black, 10% alpha transparency. So now you can see that nice little shadow there. So we still have that shadow here. But we don't have it on desktop. We don't need it on desktop. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Okay. Now let's make sure that at 1024 we are also showing our button. Our menu open button. So right now, we are display nunning both menu buttons. So we want to make sure that those are display block for mobile. So here's our navigation. So we'll say menu button, display block, and that button, so here's the search drawer, here's the menu open button, which comes, it's a sibling of the search button. So it should come immediately afterward. And there it is. It's not styled, of course, but it's in the exact position that it should be in. And then, of course, if we have menu active, we should see now that button inside the container to close the menu. Menu active. And there it is. Unstyled, of course, but there it is. So this is like our core functionality. This is our core functionality. It looks really good. It's doing exactly what I want it to do. It's a little tedious. It's very fussy to do all of this. And this is totally normal. This is exactly how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be fussy. But how long have we been doing this? We've been working today for 2 hours, and look how much we've gotten done. Just spend a few minutes working on the fussiness. It's completely fine. It's absolutely okay. One moment, hold please. I think this is a good place to call it a day. What do we think? I love it. I love it. Yeah, I think this is going to turn out to be a good one. I feel like when you front load your work like this, you take the time to like really think through what the experience is supposed to be, how things are supposed to function. It makes a huge difference, especially when you're building a multi-page website and this header and this footer are going to be on every single page, and you've got a portfolio and a blog and a gallery and all these different things. Spend the time. I promise you it's worth it. Be fussy. Scrub your browser back and forth and pay attention to what those breakpoints are. I have breakpoints that I tend to use consistently, like 1024, 960, 600, sometimes 768. But really, the design, the layout should tell you what those breakpoints are. So pay attention to what your layout really supports and make your decision about your breakpoints based on the layout. You don't need a breakpoint. You don't need styles for every single breakpoint either. Most of our breakpoints are going to happen here at 1024. Some are going to happen at about 600. Just let the design tell you what they should be. Here's the thing also, if you are working at an organization, if you are lucky enough to have a designer on your team handing you designs, first of all, congratulations. I've been in a few situations like that. They are most likely going to tell you what the breakpoints are going to be, but not all the time. I worked at one agency, this was when I was in San Diego, where we had a very talented designer. Oh my gosh, I learned so much coding this guy's designs. I learned so much, but he never gave me mobile designs and he never told me what the breakpoints should be. That was always up to me. On the very rare occasion I would be given designs with a mobile view, it was always because the designer had something very specific in mind that they wanted to have happen at that breakpoint. But for the majority of my career, anytime I'm given designs that I didn't design, it has always been up to me to figure out how that looks on mobile, which is why I take so much time writing the HTML. Because think about your mobile view is really going to reflect exactly how the DOM looks. We're almost always building a layout for desktop and then deconstructing it or just putting it back to however the DOM was built for mobile, right? And just stacking it one on top of the other. That's why I spend so much time working on the HTML. I generally dedicate like an entire day, an entire live stream, if not longer, to thinking about, okay, first of all, does the HTML line up in a way that is logically accessible for a screen reader or for keyboard navigation? But also, after I like build out the desktop version, can I just like deconstruct it for mobile and have it fall into place naturally without needing to write a ton of extra styles? That's how I think about it. So, yeah, I mean, if you have an interest in being good at this and you want to understand this deeply or more deeply, just do a few vanilla projects like this. I promise you it will start to click. And if you don't and you're just here to hang out and chill, that is completely fine too. We are all about good vibes. We are all about good, immaculate vibes. We love the vibes. So, everybody, Rahul, thank you so much for being here. Rahul's in Nepal. He's like 12 hours ahead and he stays up late to hang out with us. Thank you. I appreciate your support and I appreciate you hanging out here with us. Malik was here. Go Elmo Go. He's the other mod in the chat. He's doing his design internship. He had a meeting, so he had to run. Thank you to everybody else who hung out with me. Do me a favor. If you haven't already, can you like the video? It helps the algorithm, helps push this out to other people who might be interested in this type of content. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. The channel is growing. I'm so excited about that. Hey, if you're on Instagram, I'm a doom scroller myself. I like creating content on Instagram. I don't do it as much as I would like. But if you are on Instagram, go ahead and give me a follow. I would like to grow that audience this year as well. If you have questions for me, if you just want to reach out or say hello, the DMs on Instagram are a great place to do that. So everybody come back this weekend. I'm here 4 days a week, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. We just hang out for a couple hours and we practice. That's all this is. We just chill, we practice, we code. Come hang out with us this weekend. We're going to get this. I feel pretty confident this weekend about finishing this header and doing all the JavaScript for the navigation and for the search drawer. I think it's knowing myself, I think it's aggressive to think that we're going to get all of that done on Saturday, but I feel good about getting it all done this weekend. Like we will end the day on Sunday with everything being responsive, accessible, the JavaScript's done. So, and then we can jump into the core layout styles and that usually goes pretty fast once we get to that. And here's the thing. Once you have, like, the header is just the header and the navigation are huge, right? So once you get that part done and it's accessible and responsive, generally you can fly through the rest of these pages, especially once you get to the inner pages and the header and the footer are done. Like, half your site is basically built. You're just whipping out that layout on the inner pages. So there's that. Okay, everybody, have a great rest of your day wherever you are. I will see you this weekend on Saturday. I love you all. I will see you in my next one.